Skull and Bones, the very long-awaited game that is set to let the winds fill the sails and turn men and women into hardy pirates. Quite frankly, I have avoided Skull and Bones for a very long time. The idea of playing as a pirate sounds dull to me. So, let me tell you how it came to be that I tested the open beta and what I think about this pisspot of a game. First of all, let's get some background here. If you have followed me on Twitter the last year, you know that I have played the older Assassin's Creed games, because why not? I mainly play the Assassin's Creed series because I like a good story in a game, and especially the first games told great stories. But now I'm spinning off target, back on track. Pirates, ships. Yeah, so Assassin's Creed 3, you get the opportunity to control a small ship equipped with guns and drown men by the hundreds. A pretty fun experience, actually. Oh, come on. Assassin, it's about killing people. Don't pretend anything else. Playing as Connor means spending a certain amount of time at sea. Just about right, I thought back then. Well, then Black Flag came. Let's go to Daddy Connor. No, that's not really true, but at least back in time. The skinny Edward that for whatever reason thought pirating was a good idea. The money was good, they said. I had a hard time getting into the Black Flag, but some rum and women later and it all felt good. Yo-ho, a pirate's life for me. But Black Flag quickly became grindy, not least when Ubisoft bug prevented the big passive income of your fleet. But anyhow, after Black Flag, I followed the PC order and I participated in the French Revolution before heading back to sea in Rogue. Somehow, that kind of worked. Even if Rogue was mainly Black Flag, but in alternative universe with worse fidelity. Are you still with me? Let's focus on Skull and Bones then. If you have played any of those Assassin's Creed games, you will be very familiar with the controls of Skull and Bones. It's not a bad idea though, if you want to sail a ship on your own. That is a pretty nice and arcade-ish way of doing it, if the wheel turned properly. But I wouldn't have tried it if I didn't see this tweet, stating that this was the best game he had ever played, or sold. But still, anyone claiming that the game is good, well, that's hardly something that I care about, to be honest. Not one, at least. So what really got me to test was the massive group of people explaining to him why he had the wrong opinion. You can't say that the game is good based on the beta. You can't say any game with all those bugs are good. It's just Assassin's Creed, released 10 years too late, it sucks. And so on, blah blah. Well, that triggered me. Quite a lot, actually. I mean, if that player thinks it's the best thing since sliced bread, well, let him have fun. So then I decided to have a go. How bad can it be, right? I started by almost immediately run into one of 3 possible bugs that require you to contact support and have them reset your in-game character. Bummer. But on the positive side, it was rather early in the game, so it didn't really matter. I recognize many things from Assassin's Creed, but being an online open world with other players, there's less cutscenes, no pause, less clutter actually. You just grab a spear and go hunt a shark or dig for treasure. As you go about, you learn about how to construct, or rather let others construct new ships for you, because you can't really do anything, can you? One of the things I always was disappointed about in Assassin's Creed was that I couldn't get a bigger boat. You can, and it's nice. Some rise and some rose. The game is really good looking, and from what I've seen in the beta, the world is quite interesting. I was afraid that much would be templating, repeating the same structures and patterns over and over again, but with different names. Well, so far, there seems to be enough of unique craft in each location. If that is where the time went, then I think it's fine, actually. However, while the world was rewarding, at least what I saw in my limited time, the actual maneuver of the ship was questionable. I've already mentioned the visual steering, but other questions arose in terms of the wind and how the boats react to the wind. Also, the audio it wasn't plain bad, but it wasn't really good either. It was quite odd at times. The input for more or less sales were also surprisingly inconsistent in response. Well, that is actually a pretty big problem because you see, in some views, you can't actually see how much you, let's say, how fast you want to go, and you can't see the information about the wind, and that means that you can't say for sure if you turn at like the best turn or if you manage your stamina and so on, unless it's very consistent. And since it isn't or wasn't, well, that was actually quite annoying, to be frank. Some of you are thinking, well, it is the beta. I mean, surely they will fix that, right? Let me explain a bit how it works with open betas and what can be expected on a pre-release next week. First of all, the open beta was a work in progress, as Ubisoft clearly explained, but with only 1 week to launch, there is no way any reports from the beta will be acknowledged and fixed before launch. Maybe if it can be resolved by some server tweaks, minor settings or feature flags, or if it's a real blocker. And otherwise, it's no way it's going to happen. I don't mean to shatter anyone's dreams. Ubisoft probably are aware of most bugs, or at least the most important ones, probably even before the beta even launched. So there is still a good chance that many of them are fixed. But you see, the open beta is an old build. It was probably branched, well, at least a month ago. So basically you branch it off to allow certain changes that is required to present whatever is intended for the beta, and, well, what is intended but not more. Well, obviously the full game will have reached a better stage, or that is at least what we hope for and what should have happened, because the build for release next week is probably undergoing QA as we speak. Most likely it started even before the open beta did, so there is a certain overlap. But as I said, whatever was found in the open beta that was new, it's not going to be patched. It might come in the first patch after launch, or perhaps the second one. I think that's more reasonable, let's say. Let's go to the most important question. Should I buy it? It's a pretty hefty price though, isn't it? Before I played the open beta, I was dead sure this was nothing for me, and especially not for $60 or $70. Not that I think it's unreasonably expensive for a game. I mean, most games cost around that when new. That's the world we live in. But then again, most games drop fairly quickly as well. Surprisingly enough, I currently really wrestling my enemy about whether I should pre-order or not, or buy or not, or wait for a cheaper price. If I knew that there was a vast world waiting to be explored with many different cultures and unique content, if I knew that I could build many different ships in many different shapes and forms, if I knew that they were fixing the turning of the wheel, well, then I would gladly have spent the money to play as soon as possible. But I joined the beta late, so I missed much of the time, but whatever time I had, I really spent. And then when there was 15 minutes to server takedown and it was in the middle of the night, I realized that I couldn't play more. So I really enjoyed the beta. But I mean, it's not the best game I've ever played, but it tickled a nerve that I didn't even know that I had. It wasn't perfect, but even if released in this state, it would have been far better off than Hogwarts Legacy, Battlefield 2042, Cyberpunk, and really most games that I can come up with. I think this was probably the beta with the least amount of bugs, or at least the least amount of blocking bugs that I can remember. So, should I buy it? Should you buy it? I think there is a big risk for disappointment, but at the same time I'm really curious to know. Cheers!